What's up, motherfuckers, and welcome back to Big Pete's Metal Show. Today is the first episode of interviewing local bands and artists. I'm here with Alex.
What's up?
This man is in a shit ton of bands. You want to tell us about all the bands you're in? Give us a little rundown.
Just like the names.
Absolutely.
So we got Polybius, Gates of Paradox, Necrostalker, and Eternal Crypt. I think that's it. Oh, Destroyah too. That's the newest project.
Destroyah.
I feel bad for getting, but there's literally so fucking many to remember at this point.
That's fair. Now, we're actually here today to talk about Polybius.
Okay.
Tell us, it started as one-man project.
It was originally just a studio project, honestly. That formed while Nuclear Winter was happening. I don't know if you knew that, but that was when I first started playing guitar, basically, and I was just interested in to see what I could do, because the way that band and really any band have functioned, even still when I'm drumming, is more like the guitarist writes the riffs, and if I have an idea, I might hum it to them. But I was getting frustrated with having to translate my ideas through someone else's playing, essentially, you know what I mean? So I started learning guitar, and then I was like, oh, what can I do with this? And my brother was into recording software and shit, so I was like, oh, teach me what you know, show me what I can do with this. And it actually wasn't as complex as it seemed. And then I started fucking around with that, and that's kind of when that band shat the bed. So I was like, okay, I guess this is my full-time project, because I've always looked at what I'm mainly invested in as my full-time project. Not that the other bands aren't, but it's more of I'm more fitting to that band's style than I'm writing for myself. Gates of Paradox.
Your full-time project would be shit that you are writing and just you have the most creative control over.
Yeah, and not that that's a bad thing, but in Gates of Paradox, for example, it's I'm not really that big a part of the creative process, and that's fine, because I feel like that would almost hinder it, because I don't write like Zane does. I don't write the same style of music, and if I were to contribute too much, I feel like it would just sound too much like Polybius or whatever my writing style is for that project, whereas I'm more no, show me what you have and let me accent it with my drumming, and let me just kind of focus on that one aspect of the playing, whereas in Polybius it's more all hands on deck, what can I create as a full piece of music, rather than what can I specialize one thing in really well, drumming in Gates of Paradox. It's I don't write the melodies, there's one riff I have credit of writing, but Zane spiced it up. I just sent him the idea. I'm like, oh, this would be a cool idea, and then he sends me it back and it's got all this crazy tapping and shit, and I'm like, that's not what I wrote, but that's what I mean. He threw his spice on it, and now it sounds like Gates of Paradox. Whereas when it was me, it sounds like me, and that's neither good nor bad. It's just a different style, and at the end of the day, I think that's what makes a good musician, is being able to play to the style of music and play for the music rather than for yourself. Because a lot of drummers, or any musician, I'm not trying to name names, but you see them and it's they're kind of a one-trick pony. They do the same thing all the time, and I like musicians that are diverse, where
well-rounded.
Yeah, you hear them in different projects, and you're I can't believe this is the same guy, even some... Rob Halford's solo shit. I mean, it's still in the realm of Judas Priest, but it's holy fuck, Rob Halford's got some chops just on his own as a songwriter,
Absolutely, yeah.
But yeah, I guess that's the origin story of it, I guess, or whatever.
That is fair. Now, you have been a drummer for very many years. All of your projects, Nuclear Winter, all your other bands, you play the drums.
Yeah.
Now, Polybius is a little different.
Yeah.
How was it playing your first several shows as frontman, actually playing guitar and vocalist of a band? Is it something you are never used to? You're always behind the kit in the back.
I'd say, well, first of all, it has nothing to really do with stage position. With drums, it's more just it kind of sucks because you literally have to be planted there, you can't move.
Exactly.
But that never really affected me so much. Like the thought of being a bass player in a band, for example, being more close to the audience doesn't fuck with me at all. If anything, it's basically the same. But it's kind of terrifying being the front man, which I've never done before, vocals, which I've never done before, and guitar all at the same time, which I've never done before. So it's I'm still learning. For example, on the first album, my vocals are completely different than how I do them now, and that's because I'm starting to learn more proper techniques and shit. So it's still a learning process, and it's good and bad because it's humbling. Because when I get up on drums, it's like I've been playing this instrument for like 14 years at this point.
You can just fucking crush it.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So it's like, I might have anxiety about like, I hope that odd time signature part, like more advanced like shit that's like, unless you're like in the know of music, you might not even catch that it's a mistake. But when it comes to that shit, it's like, if I miss a note on guitar, it's gonna come out, and it's I can't go into it with that much confidence as I can with drums. So it's kind of humbling because it's like, oh, this is what it feels like to kind of suck at something and like get better at it. But it's also good because that motivates me because like I hate that feeling of like, especially like as a performer, you don't want to go on stage.
You don't want to fuck up.
Yeah, you don't want to fuck up a single note. Like I'll see footage of me like missing literally one note on a solo, and I'm like, that was fucked. Like the whole show's ruined. You know what I mean?
No one else even noticed.
Yeah,
And
but
you're just looking back at it, and you're like, oh man, I fucked it all up.
Well, it comes from one, I want to give people a good show, it's like, I want you to go home with like, holy fuck, that was crazy, not, that was cool, but they could have been a little cleaner, and also, like, I want the respect of my peers, it's like, it's one thing for just the average, like, listener to really like what you do, and like, I appreciate that as well, but like, when someone like Zane or like Eddie or like just some of these like musicians I'm surrounded with, they're like at the apex or like close to it, of like their like the playing ability of an instrument. It's like when that guy says like, oh, that was sick, it's like that's when I know I'm doing something right, because before I played guitar, I didn't know how the fuck like solos went. Like I listen to solos now in a completely totally different way because I can hear how they're played, and some of them that you thought were super complicated are like, that's really fucking stupid easy, and I'm saying that about myself even, like as just an average music listener who didn't play guitar, it was like I didn't fully appreciate when shit was actually crazy, and I also didn't fully understand when shit that sounded crazy was actually like kind of stupid simple. Not that that's bad, but I don't know, it just means something different as a musician, like to get the respect of like another like god tier musician, because it's like, okay, like that means I put the work in,
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, you have several new projects just in Polybius coming up. Can you tell us a little bit of, yes, the new albums. Tell us a little bit more about those. And what's to expect.
So the next release, I should say, is Nuclear Undead, and that's basically kind of a rework or a remaster of a lot of the songs off the first album, and also the songs that we never recorded, because we had like half the second album in production. Unfortunately, one of the songs, it was called Eternal Sun, is essentially like lost to time because I never even fully learned the song. Like we didn't have it because we had just been practicing less and less as a band as it went on. So like every time we would come back to play the song, I was like, wait, how does this whole fucking thing go? Like, because we weren't practicing regularly to where I could get it.
Nuclear Winter, right?
Yeah. So that song is unfortunately lost to time. That was like probably our opus, unfortunately, too. Like that was the most complex thing we had ever written. It was disgusting. Like
it's the one that got away.
Yeah, like I gotta find like if we have like a cell phone video or something, because we never even played it, or I think we played it live shittily once. Because everyone was like wanting an encore, and we all just looked at each other and we were like, "Fuck it, let's play this song." But like, it was a sloppy rendition of it again because like we never got it tight enough to play live. We just did it on a whim that one time.
You just improv it kind of.
I mean, it was tight enough to where like we got
presentable.
Yeah, it was presentable, but it wasn't
not what you wanted.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But so that song's not on there. But like, Nuclear Undead, that's a song off the second. Like, was supposed to be the second album, which Nuclear Undead was supposed to be the name of the second album. That's kind of why I'm calling it this, but it also has a double entendre now because the band is dead, but 3 of the members are in this band. It's essentially the same band at this point.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like we're like the Nuclear Undead, so to speak, of like, this is the remains of what that band was. And it's not so much, like, I feel like some people might look at it as like a whole, like, spite, like a Dave Mustaine thing with like, the 4 Horsemen and Mechanics, but it's not so much like that. It's more just like, that band meant a lot to me. It was like, that was my introduction, the whole reason I'm even in this scene. That's the reason I fucking live in Rochester currently. And I just, as much as it sucks that it's over, it's like, I want to send it off right. And I also want those songs that we never like got a chance to like record, because there's some shitty like cell phone footage on YouTube of some of them, but like, I don't know, I was just like, these songs are too fucking sick to just like leave on, like, just like throw away the time essentially. And I want to get them out there, but I didn't want to just release like 2 songs. So I was like, you know what, like these songs rip too, and why not fucking redo them? Because not saying one is going to be better or worse. It's like, that's your decision to make at the end of the day. But I just want to throw my own spin on them one last time, and then kind of like send it off, and also kind of be able to capture what our sound is going to be like. Because compared to the first album, like already just the drums alone, like this is really going to showcase, I think, like our sound, how we're evolving, but with material that people are already familiar with, so they can kind of hear that evolution rather than like hearing the new mix and the new production value also with new music. Like could be kind of stark, and I don't know, they're just nasty ass songs. I like playing a lot of them because it's not the full Nuclear Winter album. It's only like 5 of the songs off of it, but like the 5 of like what I consider like the best ones.
Absolutely, I can't wait to hear it either.
Yeah, no, I'm excited for it a lot.
There's also a music video.
There's actually 2 music videos for that album.
2. That's very surprising. Any idea on when those are gonna come out?
We have them scheduled to come out. I'm not gonna give exact dates actually because I want to keep it kind of on the hush hush.
On the DL.
Well, yeah, we'll update people on social media and whatnot like as we get closer. But I can say it will be this year. I can say that much.
Very interesting. Also very interesting, I starred in one of those music videos.
Indeed. Well, that video that's one I'm going to be really happy with and proud of, because that's like the first time I've ever been a part of like an actual music video. Like I've done, like with Nuclear Winter did one where it was like live, like us playing a show, and then we did that whole thing where it's like cut live footage and like kind of put that in
with the
studio.
Video.
But I've always wanted to, like, I find that the video just tells the story a lot better, or at least, like, is more engaging to look at, because if I wanted to watch live footage, I kind of would rather just watch a live concert than, like, see cut random footage where the drums aren't even lining up to the song. It's like...
Exactly.
You know what I mean? That's cool for some shit, but, like, for those songs especially, like, the comic booky songs that are really kind of about just, like, not nonsense, but, like... fantasy like it's
more of like the storytelling songs.
Yeah, it's not so much about like some grand.
That's what you want your video to be, is a story.
Exactly. I want to show you the story as it's happening and how it, like, almost like a rough musical. It's like the music fits with the story of what's happening in this play kind of thing. I mean, that's a very shitty analogy kind of, but like,
no, it makes perfect sense.
So there's that one, and then the other one is going to be for Omaha, and that's more just like straight up like legit World War II footage. Because I wasn't originally going to I always wanted to make one for Omaha, but it's about Normandy and storming, like D-Day, you know what I mean? So I'm like, I don't just want to fucking do a shitty, like, 2008 era YouTube edit where I just take Saving Private Ryan footage and fucking put that to the video like everyone knows it's from a movie. But I was also like, there's no feasible way I can shoot this and make it look like how I want it to look for this video. And then I came upon this World War II documentary. It's like 3 hours long, and it's nothing but fucking like old like relic D-Day footage. So I'm gonna cut that together, and that's gonna be that video. But that's more just gonna be like straight up just old footage. There's not gonna be like any cuts to the band or anything.
That's gonna be very cool.
Yeah, no, I think it's really gonna fit the song. And again, like, these are more things that like I wanted to do with Nuclear Winter, and just because of like how everything went, they never came to be. But I don't know. I just feel like it's almost like bastardizing that music if it doesn't come out with like what the full intention and idea behind it was.
Exactly. You're a man of your craft. You envision things, and you want them to fucking go that way.
Yeah. Well, it's also, that's the fun of like a group project, is you get like other people's influences. Like Zach sometimes will like come up with harmonies that I may not have heard, and that's kind of like the way I like at least like Polybius to function, is sort of like that. Sort of how like Death functioned, where like as far as like from what I've seen in interviews, obviously I wasn't in that band, I wasn't even alive, but like from what I heard, Chuck would like present song ideas and like rough demos to the band,
and he would allow his peers to give them, add more flavor to it.
Yeah, like he basically said like, if I can play my guitar riffs, like to Gene Hoglan, he would be like, if I can play my guitar riffs over your drum parts, that's all I care about. Like, as long as what you're playing doesn't screw me up, do whatever you want. And that's kind of how I look at this. Is like, I find my strengths are like like composing and arranging more so than like riff writing per se. Not that I'm like bad at riff writing, but I've always been able to kind of like hear like shit before it happens, almost like, where do I hear this song going or shit like that. So I find that like I kind of almost need that group setting, because you know, like the first album, for example, when we play it live now, there's harmonies, there's parts that weren't there before simply because now I've come together with a group and Zach goes, oh, how's this sound? I'm like, I'm pissed at myself almost. I'm like, why didn't I do that on the first album? Like, that sounds sick, you know what I mean? But, like, that's the thing about working with a group. It's like, you know, you look at Metallica or like some of these, I mean, that was more just like James and Lars, but even then it's like James came up with the riffs and Lars arranged it, you know? It's like, usually the best music comes from like multiple people because they're coming from all these different influences.
Absolutely.
Shit.
Absolutely.
You know, I like the first album, but you can definitely tell it's all me. Whereas, like, when you add other people, it's like you have had a whole life experience of music and playing your instrument and shit that I have not experienced. So there's no way you're going to have the same musical thoughts in your head that I do. And that's a good thing, you know? Not all the time, but I mean, everyone writes bad shit, you know? I write bad shit.
Or you're going to have a fucking stinker once in a while.
You have to. I mean, being like a good artist is less about being able to write good shit all the time, in my opinion, and more like about being able to know when you have something that's worth, like, using.
The biggest thing as an artist is growth.
Yeah, well, that too, and that's like
you need like that. You like your first album. Sounds like it was recorded on a toaster.
Yeah,
you know, it was just very, very like, you know, it's a benchmark of like where you started. It's a very good one too.
Well, can I also say part of the reason? Okay, so I'm not gonna excuse it because a lot of it is just because I had no fucking clue what I was doing as far as playing guitar, tone, mixing or mastering or recording, and any like everything I did. Like looking back now with like all the knowledge I have from like watching YouTube lessons and shit, is like, oh my god, like I did so many wrong moves on record. Like I did so much shit not the right way on that album, but I also did partially try and make it, like, I used plugins to make it sound like it was recorded on tape. You know, I was trying to make that album sound like a bunch of guys in a room playing the songs all together rather than, like, how most modern recording is done. Like, that's how the album was actually recorded, obviously. It was each instrument individually, but yeah. I tried to almost make it sound like it was played in a room. And, because originally the plan I actually had for Polybius when it was a solo project was... Because you know, like, how the video game Polybius is, like a fucking creepypasta or whatever?
Yeah.
Like a made-up thing on the internet. I wanted to release it without anyone knowing. Like, I didn't tell anyone at this time that I was even doing this other than fucking Caitlin. She was the only one that knew. And I was going to release it and come up with, like, fake band member names. And just release it, and then everyone would... And, like, be like, this came out in the 80s. And then explain why it sounds, like, so shitty and, like, old school.
Yeah,
and be like, yo, has anyone heard of this band? Like, I almost wanted to, like, get, like, popular off of, like, the internet sleuthing of, like people trying
the intrigue.
Yeah, you know, like, dude, I found this in my basement. Like, my dad had this from 1983. Has anyone heard of this?
There's this one YouTuber I watch. His name's Wang. And... he has done a lot of videos on, like, hidden, like lost media. Like, just random shit that just comes up and nobody knows what the fuck it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would have been pretty interesting.
I thought it would have been cool, but I got to a certain point where... basically, the only reason I didn't do that is because Nuclear Winter broke up, and I was like, okay, well, if this is going to be my project, like, I kind of got to make it my project, otherwise I'm never going to, like, make money off of a fucking internet mystery, you know?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that would have been very interesting.
Yeah,
we would not be sitting here having this conversation right now.
No, I know. But, again, it was just a side project. That's why I wanted to do that, because it was more just for fun. I just kind of wanted to make music, and then there was really no risk to it, because I was like, it's not even going to have my name on it, and it's just going to fuck with people, and I would find that, like, amusing, you know? Like, like, oh my god, they still can't figure it out, and then just, like, keep releasing albums, and people are like, there's no fucking way that, like, no one's heard of this band, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Eventually it would have been found out, but I don't know. I'm glad the route it took. At least it's more, like, direct, and it just gives us that freedom to kind of do what we want with it rather than, like, keep up this whole super, like, concept idea almost. But it would have fit with the band name, I feel. That would have been cool.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, people would, you know, start to research, like, what that original Polybius video game was.
Yeah.
They would, like, you know, it would be even bigger, like, creep factor on the whole thing.
There's only been, like, a handful of people that, like, know the reference. Like, on tour, there were only, like, maybe 2 or 3 guys that came up to me, and they're like, did you get that name from that, like, video game thing? I'm like, yeah, I can't believe you know that reference. Most people can't even fucking pronounce it correctly at first, you know what I mean?
And speaking of that, you just went on your very first tour.
Oh, yeah.
Tell us a little bit about the tour. What are some of the fucking... I mean, I've heard some horror stories from
You've seen the logs.
bassist Drew.
I can't believe he survived, dude. He went feral one of those nights. Like, we were at the Primal campground, and he literally went fucking primal on us. Like, yeah, apparently there was like a fucking graveyard of like benches or picnic tables or something. Tyler took a wrong turn.
Oh,
it was a whole fucking debacle. I wasn't there for that. I was at the campsite, but I was there when Drew got fucking hosed down.
Oh my god. Drew getting hosed down is one of the funniest things I've ever seen.
That one and the video of him eating the cattails.
Yeah. Yeah, the video cuts right as soon as he's like up chucking.
That wasn't even edited. That was literally where like he cut the fucking video.
Oh my god, dude, that was funny. Obviously, lots of funny shit happened during the tour. We could literally sit here for 6 hours and talk about all the stories.
Oh, easily.
But tell us some things about like what you learned as like a touring band, like or like along the way. Like how was the whole experience? Because you've never done like a cross country like type of tour like that.
I've never played an out of town show. I mean, unless you count like Syracuse, but that's like an hour and a half.
Syracuse doesn't exist, and we don't like it.
Yeah. But you know what I mean? Like, I've never played like Florida. You know, that's fucking. I've never been to Florida before.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm sorry. What was the question again?
What was the question? Oh yeah. What were some of the things that you learned as like a touring band? Like, what were some of the new experiences like for like out on the road?
I definitely learned to take like life less seriously. I guess at least on a personal note, just kind of, trust that the people around you and everything will work itself out. Like, we had some like issues along the way. I mean, the whole planning of the fucking tour was an issue, but we still went on the road. We still got through it. You know what I mean? Like,
it was. From what I heard, it was like a dumpster fire from the beginning.
Oh yeah.
Like what were some of like the major hiccups along the road?
Trying to get paid a fair amount. It's like fucking pulling teeth, dude. I don't know how it was in like the 80s and 90s, like when shit was kind of different, but like now it's purely based off like social media, like numbers and stats. Like, you could literally be Metallica. Like, say Metallica didn't exist, you could literally be like Master of Puppets era Metallica coming on stage, and they'd be like, well, how many Instagram followers do you have? How many views do you have on your YouTube channel? It's like shit like that, and it's not really about the quality of the music anymore. It's more about just like, oh, how many people... And it's fair to a point. I get you're trying to make money. You're a venue. You're not in this to fucking just promote bands for free. But in the same breath, it's like, I don't know. It was just like, it was fucking like pulling teeth, and maybe it won't be like that eventually, but that's one thing I'm going to try for next tour is to like get more money. Not in like give me millions of dollars, but just like, pay me what's fair, dude. Like, I'm driving hundreds of miles with this fucking crew of 9 people. Like,
exactly.
We need food. We need water. We need, like, because that's the thing. It's like a promoter paying you a couple $100. People go, oh, you made good money. It's like, that's all going in your gas tank. That's all going to the merch you fucking bought to bring on this tour. It's like, and that's fine, but you still need to make enough to like survive while you're going. Because I would still be out there if I had the money. I would still be on the road right now. I would have booked more dates and started fucking living in a van, driving around. Playing shows, you know what I mean? And then get back in like a year. Like, Metallica toured for what, 2 years straight, basically?
Yeah, when like in the 90s.
Yeah, that's one thing I learned too, because I thought like, after like 3 days my neck is going to be cranked from all the headbanging and like show after show after show and all this shit. It's like, I could handle it, at least at like a young age, like I can handle this no problem. I hope it doesn't get worse as I get older, like if I'm in my 50s or something, but I was shocked at how easy it was, like, physically and mentally. I thought, like, sleeping in a van and, like, doing all this shit was gonna, like, kill me. And, like, we would joke about it, but me personally, I mean, I can't speak for the rest of the guys, but, like, I really didn't feel that shitty. I felt pretty normal the whole time. And we were drinking aggressively and doing... Like, I wouldn't do that for 2 years. That was fucking my body a little bit.
Yeah, that would start to fuck you a little bit.
I mean, it was borderline every day. It was like a nonstop party. Like, the whole time. Like, the only time we weren't drinking was when we were sleeping, basically. Like, it was fun.
That is fucking awesome. I'm so happy for you guys that you had such a good experience. But you had a couple minor hiccups, like, right before.
Yeah.
You had a show canceled, right? Like, a show that I was the one who found this. The first show in Ohio. Remember that got shit canned because the place was closing down.
That happened to us twice on tour. 2 venues, like, and it sucks, but there's almost nothing. It almost sucks worse for them because like you get the email, it's like, oh, like we're canceling the date, and you're like, what the fuck? But then you see why. It's like, oh, we're closing for good, and you're like, fuck, like it's a music venue closing for good. So we weren't too pissed. We kind of just took it as it came. That's what I was saying like a minute ago. Like that's what I loved about the group of people we went with is like there wasn't any like fuckery really. It was like we kind of just dealt with shit as it came, and you know we all just know how to deal with each other because we've all known each other for like fucking 5-6 years at this point. I mean those guys, some of them have known each other since like high school or before, but yeah, I don't know. I think that's really just what comes down to is like going with a good group of people. Because if I was with people that I fucking hated, like, holy fuck, it would have been a different story.
Exactly. We would have, like, horror stories. We'd be bitching about this tour right now.
Yeah, it would be a nonstop just shit show.
Yeah.
So that's an important lesson, I guess, too. Just go with people that you know you can, like, vibe with. Or just avoid the people that you can't vibe with. Like, don't treat them like shit. Just kind of... Not that was an issue on this tour at all, but I could see, you know... bands get paired up, they may not know each other, they might not get along the best. It's like, just ignore them as long as they're not fucking with you, you know?
Absolutely.
Let them do their thing.
Now, my last question.
Okay.
Tell us about your, like, any future upcoming shows you got going on. Shit that, you know, we as, you know, the metal fans and metal community can expect to look out for Polybius in the near future.
Show-wise, I know we have a show October 22nd for Rick Horton. That's like a Halloween show. It's not actually on Halloween, but it's Halloween themed.
The one in Waterloo?
Yes.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. And then we have another one. This one I'm not concrete on. I know it's November. I want to say 26th, but don't quote me on that. Just keep an eye out on our pages, basically, and you'll see it up there. But that's another one. I don't even know who that's with 100% or what that is. Like, at this point, I just fill in
this man
my
don't
calendar.
know nothing.
Well, no, it's because like if you look at my calendar, it's Gates of Paradox, Necrostalker. Like it's like I have to look at the specific dates of my calendar at this point. I have so many shows.
You are a busy dude.
Yeah, but I don't know, it's fun. I'd rather be busy doing music than just sitting around fucking.
Yeah, I would hate sitting around doing nothing.
Yeah.
But anything else like? When are we expecting like new releases and shit?
New releases? Well, like I said, Nuclear Undead, unless everything goes to hell. Because frankly, the only reason that album was pushed back was because of the planning of the tour. That just kind of took the forefront, and we were like, you know, Displacer was recording their album at the same time, so obviously Zach and Drew were like already held up on that, which, you know, I fully get. So we were kind of just like, let's hold off on this, focus on the tour, and then we'll kind of hit this when we get back. Because, I mean, again, we've been playing those songs for fucking like 6 years at this point, so we can record the album in like 2 weeks. But after that, as far as like other releases, the second album will be called Rejection of Self. That is already basically almost all the way written. There's like 3 songs left in like kind of the mid demo stages. They're not quite done yet, but everything else is written. That's what like No Room for Movement. Like that's off that album. That'll be on that one. That's the only original off that album that we play live so far. But as the shows progress, we'll start playing more now that we're back and we can rehearse and, you know, get tight with the new material. That one will definitely be out sometime next year. I can't say when. It's way too early because, like I said, all the songs aren't even fully written yet. But we will most likely be working with Zane Knight for that one. So it should be like a huge step up. And like I'm still gonna mix and master. I'm trying to always like better my skills with that. But he's gonna help me record it just because he has way better equipment and like he makes the process so much smoother just from doing the Gates album with him. Like it just helps so much to just be able to play and not really have to focus on doing all that bullshit on the computer at the same time.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And then after that, the album after that, which is like maybe a quarter of the way done as far as writing. There's riffs at least assigned to every song, but there's some songs that are like more so songs than riff compilations. But that will be called Into the Realm of the Undefined, and that's kind of also a double entendre because, again, those 2 albums were in the process of being written before I was going to play this as like a live band. So those are still kind of, at least in the baseline, primarily written by me. But Rejection itself is more of like a dark, like Gojira strapping in, like very heavy, very like
Ooh.
evil, just like it has thrash elements. It's not straight up like fucking gent or anything like that, like far from it, but it has those elements of like the most extreme ends of metal. It's more leaning into that death metal, like extreme side. Whereas Into the Realm of the Undefined is more of that prog kind of like cynic death, like very funky kind of like a lot of weird transitions, a lot of weird like proggy kind of interesting parts. And it's also a double entendre because I didn't plan it like this. Like that was just the name I came up with for the album and like the title track. I just thought it sounded cool. But it also fits because that's really the last album that will be primarily just like all music that was at least baseline written by me. So it's kind of like sending it off as like after this, it's going to be a joint songwriting collective on all fronts. So it's kind of like, yeah, it is Into the Realm of the Undefined. Like, how is Polybius going to sound now that it's not just like mainly written by this one guy? It's like, it's fully a group effort instead of just like me writing the base of the song and then everyone adding their flavor. It's now like, oh shit, like what do people write? Now you kind of get a hint of that though, because Fields of Glass, which is on Nuclear Undead, was mainly written by Zach. So you get to see his writing style on that. But I'm excited to see after that what we get out of it, because like I said, it'll be like everyone's style as opposed to just mine,
Absolutely. I am super fucking psyched to hear all this new shit.
Yeah, no, I'm excited about it too. It's just like you said about earlier about like progress. It's like I just feel like every album, production wise and songwriting wise, I want to keep people on their toes. I never want you to be like, oh, I know what this album's gonna sound like.
You don't want us to expect the same shit.
No, I mean, not that I'm gonna write fucking a jazz album or like something completely out of the depth of metal, but like.
Oh no, but something with just added flavor.
Added flavor and like a new style. Like, I mean, I'm not saying this for certain. This isn't something I've worked on, but like we could have a power metal song at some point. I want all doors open. I don't want to close anything off because it's like I love most, if not all, genres of metal. So why the fuck am I going to hold myself to just one if we can do it all?
Heavy metal is like an apple. It's
this
all good.
Fucking quote right here.
It's all good except the core.
Amen. A fucking man.
Well, fella, it's been nice having you on the show.
It's been sick. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Maybe we'll do another episode sometime.
I would love to.
They would be fucking hot and sexual. Anywho, go check out Polybius. Keep an eye out for anything they've got going on. Listen to their fucking shit.
Polybius, Necrostalker, Gates of Paradox, Eternal Crypt, and Destroyah.
All
if you can remember all that. We got something for everybody. It covers a wide range of metal genres.
I will link in the description as well.
Hell yeah.
Alrighty. Peace.